Welcome, friends. Picture yourself lying back, the day slowly fading. Perhaps your body still carries tension from work, or your heart remembers small moments of unease. Maybe you saw someone achieve what you wished for, or you compared your life to another's and felt a flicker of envy. It is so human, isn't it, to measure ourselves against others. Yet here, in this calm space, you are reminded that peace is not found in chasing what belongs to another. It is found in uncovering gratitude for what is already here. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you'd like, share your location and local time in the comments. I always love to know where and when you're listening. Now, let's ease into tonight's journey together. The flicker of envy often arrives quietly. It may be the friend with a newer phone, the neighbor with a greener garden, or the colleague with recognition you wished for yourself. It can appear in the smallest glance, like a candle flame suddenly catching. The Buddha taught that envy, like all craving, arises from a restless mind that forgets contentment. Clinging to what others have fuels suffering, while gratitude opens the hand and eases the heart. There is a Zen story of a young monk who noticed his fellow trainee receiving constant praise. Jealousy stirred in him, like embers glowing hotter each day. He struggled in silence, until one evening he confessed to his master, "I envy him for being favored. My heart feels heavy." The master simply asked, "When you breathe, do you borrow his breath? Or is your breath your own gift?" The monk blinked, realizing the absurdity. How could he envy another's air when his own lungs filled him every moment with life? The master's point was clear. What is truly needed is already ours. Think of your own body right now. You are breathing without effort. Your heart is beating faithfully, carrying you into this moment. These are riches beyond measure, often overlooked. What would happen if, instead of envying another's life, you began to notice the quiet miracle of your own? Some monks practiced a quirky exercise. When envy arose, they paused to name 5 small blessings around them. It could be the warmth of the sun on their robes, the taste of plain rice after hunger, or the sound of temple bells in the distance. This ritual was not to deny envy, but to invite gratitude in the same moment. Over time, they found that envy lost its sharpness when gratitude entered the room. A Zen master might ask, "Is envy an enemy, or is it a reminder?" For many, envy is a call, an invitation to notice where gratitude has been forgotten. When you feel the sting of comparison, it may be asking you not to chase another's fortune, but to return to the treasures at your feet. Imagine the flicker of envy as a candle in a dark room. Gratitude is like opening the window to let moonlight pour in. The candle's flame is small compared to the vast light that fills the space. Tonight, as you listen, notice how gratitude softens the shadows of envy. There's another story of a farmer who envied his neighbor's larger ox. Every day, he felt bitterness while plowing with his smaller beast. One day, his ox grew sick, and he feared losing even what little he had. A villager offered to help, praising the ox's gentleness and strength despite its size. In that moment, the farmer saw the truth. His ox was perfectly suited to him, steady and kind. Gratitude bloomed where envy had burned, and he worked with lighter steps. Perhaps tonight you too can reflect on your own ox, those companions, tools, or blessings in your life that may seem small compared to another's, yet are exactly what you need. Outside your window, the world holds countless stories. Some stars shine brighter, some dimmer, but together they form the vast sky. None competes. Each contributes to the whole. Envy compares brightness. Gratitude delights in the constellation. So as you settle deeper, let the flicker of envy be your teacher, not your tyrant. It whispers, "Look closer." And when you do, you see that peace does not live in someone else's life. It is already resting gently within your own. The Buddha's teaching on desire reminds us that envy is not a separate force, but a branch of craving. To envy is to desire what belongs to another. Desire itself is not always harmful, food when hungry, shelter when cold. But when desire grows restless, it turns into longing, comparison, and jealousy. It is like a fire. A small flame warms and lights, but left unchecked, it spreads and consumes. Imagine sitting beneath a fig tree on a summer afternoon. The air is heavy with sweetness, the leaves broad and shading. A teacher gathers students and tells them, "The mind that desires without end is like a jar with a hole at the bottom. No matter how much you pour in, it never fills." The students nod, understanding that envy is just another hole that drains the jar. You see someone's joy, someone's success, and your mind insists that only by having the same will, you feel whole. Yet wholeness cannot be borrowed. It must be recognized in the present. There is a Zen story of a disciple who confessed, "I envy the master's calm. I want it for myself." The master chuckled and replied, "Then you will wait forever." Calm is not taken. It is uncovered. The teaching here is gentle but firm. We cannot gain peace by clutching at another's state. We can only return to the ground beneath our own feet and see that calm already waits there. Digital life makes this teaching all the more relevant. Scrolling through pictures, hearing news of promotions, seeing the curated joys of others, envy becomes constant. The Buddha's insight is timeless. Envy feeds the illusion that happiness exists somewhere else, in someone else's story. Gratitude interrupts this illusion, reminding us that life's true treasures are immediate, intimate, already at hand. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual to tame desire. When envy arose, they deliberately offered a bow to the person or object they envied. A bow is a gesture of reverence, not submission. It says, "I honor your path, and I remain on mine." This simple act shifted the monk's energy from grasping to respecting, transforming envy into humility. What would happen if you bowed, even silently, to the things that spark your envy? Could you turn the sting of comparison into a gesture of acknowledgement, and then return home to gratitude? A Zen master might ask, when you drink water, do you thirst for the cup your neighbor holds? The riddle nudges us to see how absurd envy becomes when broken into its essence. The water quenches thirst, not the vessel. Likewise, the heart's peace comes from drinking gratitude, not from stealing another's cup. Reflect on how desire feels in the body. The jaw clenches, the chest tightens, the breath grows shallow. Envy and desire coil like knots in the stomach. Gratitude, on the other hand, loosens these knots. Shoulders drop, breath deepens, eyes soften. The Buddha knew that liberation was not abstract. It was embodied, felt in the ease of our own frame. Imagine tonight that you carry a jar, cracked at the bottom. You pour in endless water, achievements, possessions, comparisons, yet it leaks away. Now imagine instead that you mend the jar with gratitude. Each drop you pour stays. The jar does not overflow wildly, but holds enough, steadily. With gratitude, the hole of envy closes, and contentment grows. There is another story of a monk who envied a fellow's beautiful singing voice. Every chant, he felt small beside it. One day, while listening, he noticed that the voice lifted the entire hall. He asked himself, "Am I diminished by his song or nourished?" In that moment, envy dissolved into appreciation, and he found joy in the very thing that once pained him. Perhaps tonight, you too can shift this way. Instead of envying another's light, you can let it warm you. Instead of wishing to be them, you can be grateful for the gift of their presence in the world. Outside your window, listen to the night. One cricket chirps louder than the rest, but the song is whole only because many voices join. Would you envy the louder one or delight in the harmony? The Buddha's teaching on desire is this: envy is only misplaced longing. When we see clearly, we return to gratitude, and the jar of the heart begins to fill. So as you rest, notice your own breath as enough. Notice the softness of your bed as enough. Notice this moment as enough. With gratitude, the fire of desire cools, and the restless mind begins to quiet. The neighbor's garden shows us how easily envy can creep in when we measure our lives against another's. Imagine a quiet village nestled in a valley. Each home has a small plot where vegetables and herbs grow. One morning, a young monk walking through the village notices his neighbor's garden blooming more brightly than his own. The beans stand taller, the flowers open wider, the soil seems richer. A whisper of envy rises in his chest. Why is his garden so green while mine looks tired? The Buddha often taught that comparison is one of the greatest thieves of joy. When we compare, we focus not on what is, but on what is lacking. Envy distracts us from nurturing our own soil, turning our attention outward instead of inward. Gratitude, by contrast, roots us where we are, inviting us to care for what is given. There is a Zen story of two monks walking past a field. One complained that his field was barren, while another's thrived. The older monk stopped and said, "Look closely. His hands are covered in dirt, his back bent from hours of labor. Do you envy the flowers or the work that nourished them?" The younger monk was silent. He realized he wanted the outcome without the effort, the bloom without the soil. The teaching was clear. Envy often ignores the unseen labor beneath beauty. Think about your own days. On screens and sidewalks, we see others' gardens, their careers, families, possessions. Yet rarely do we see the labor, pain, or sacrifice behind them. Gratitude reminds us to honor both our own garden and the work behind another's. Instead of envy, we can let admiration soften into respect. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual. When walking past a thriving field, they paused to offer a blessing. May your harvest be abundant. May all who eat be nourished. They found that by transforming envy into blessing, the heart lightened. What once made them ache now gave them joy. What would happen if you did this in your own life? Could you bless another's good fortune instead of envying it? Could you let their happiness remind you of life's generosity rather than sting you with lack? A Zen master might ask, is the flower more beautiful because it grows in another's soil? Or does beauty belong to the flower itself? The question reminds us that beauty does not diminish when it is not ours. It exists for all to see, and gratitude lets us share it. Reflect also on how envy feels when unexamined. The heart feels contracted, the body restless, the eyes narrow with dissatisfaction. Gratitude, on the other hand, expands the chest, softens the gaze, and lets the body exhale. Just as the garden flourishes with water and sun, so too the body flourishes with appreciation. Imagine yourself tonight standing at the edge of your neighbor's garden. The beans stand tall, the flowers glow in moonlight. For a moment, envy rises. But then you look down at your own soil, dark, fertile, waiting. Perhaps your seeds are smaller, slower, yet they are yours. You kneel, press your fingers into the earth, and water them gently. In that act, you realize that peace is not in wishing for another's harvest, but in tending your own. There's another story of a hermit who lived near a wealthy merchant. The merchant's home was grand, his land vast. Each day, the hermit's hut seemed smaller by comparison. One evening, the hermit sat quietly, watching fireflies rise in the night. The merchant, though rich, never paused to notice them. The hermit smiled, whispering, "My hut is rich enough, for I have fireflies." Gratitude turned his small space into a palace of light. Perhaps tonight you too can see your own fireflies, the small blessings in your life that shine when you pause to notice them. They may not look like another's fortune, but they glow uniquely for you. Outside your window, each garden of the world grows differently. Some fields are wide, others narrow. Some sprout early, others bloom late. None competes. Each fulfills its season. Would you envy the spring bloom or wait with patience for autumn fruit? The teaching of the neighbor's garden is this: envy shrinks the heart. Gratitude expands it. When we tend our own soil with care, joy grows. When we bless another's flowers, our own spirits blossom. So as you prepare for rest, imagine watering your inner garden with gratitude. Each breath nourishes the roots. Each exhale clears away weeds of comparison. Soon, your garden shines, not in rivalry, but in quiet contentment. The weight of comparison is like carrying stones in a basket you never set down. Imagine someone walking along a forest trail, the air sweet with pine and bird song. The path is smooth, yet their steps drag heavy. On their back is a basket filled not with food or tools, but with stones picked up along the way. Each stone represents a comparison. Their house is bigger than mine. Their smile is brighter. Their life is happier. With each judgment, another stone is added, and the basket grows unbearable. This is how envy feels, a burden that bends the back of the spirit. The Buddha often taught that suffering is born from clinging, and comparison is one of the most subtle forms of clinging. It insists that life must match another's life for ours to feel complete. But gratitude is like setting the basket down. Suddenly, the path feels lighter, the body freer, and the journey more joyful. There is a Zen story of a monk who complained constantly. "He meditates longer than I do. She chants more beautifully. His robes are finer." The master gave him a sack of stones and told him to carry it everywhere. "Add one each time you compare," the master instructed. Within days, the sack became too heavy to bear. Exhausted, the monk returned it. The master smiled and said, "You see, You were already carrying these stones in your heart. With that, the monk understood how comparison had weighed him down. Think of your own day. Perhaps you saw a colleague receive praise, a friend post a vacation photo, or a stranger with what you longed for. Each time, you may have picked up a stone without realizing it. The body feels it, shoulders tense, chest tight, breath shallow. Gratitude is the act of setting the basket down, sighing deeply, and realizing the path is easier when walked freely. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual of literally picking up a stone when they felt envy, holding it until they grew tired. Then they placed it down as an offering to the earth. Over time, this trained them to notice the weight of envy and the relief of letting it go. What would happen if you did the same with your thoughts? Could you notice each comparison as a stone in your hand and choose to set it down instead of carrying it? A Zen master might ask, is the path heavier, or is it the basket you choose to carry? The riddle shows us that life itself is not the weight. It is what we add through comparison that burdens us. Reflect also on how gratitude transforms the body. When you shift from envy to appreciation, shoulders relax, the breath deepens, the face softens. The basket feels lighter because it is no longer filled with imagined burdens. Gratitude does not erase challenges, but it eases the unnecessary weight. Imagine yourself tonight walking that forest path. The basket presses into your back, heavy with stones. You pause, set it down, and open it. Inside are comparisons written on each stone. You smile, realizing you no longer need to carry them. One by one, you return them to the earth, hearing each thud as it lands. When the basket is empty, you lift it again, so light you hardly notice it. Your steps grow easier, the forest brighter. You walk freely. There's another story of a hermit who visited a market and felt envy seeing the merchant's wealth. He returned to his hut, burdened with thoughts. That night, as he lit a candle, he realized its light filled the room without needing to be compared to the sun or stars. He whispered, "My candle is enough." Gratitude turned his envy into peace, like stones dissolving into sand. Perhaps tonight you too can whisper, "My candle is enough." Whether it is your breath, your shelter, your loved ones, or simply your presence in this moment, your light is real, even without comparison. Outside your window, the night does not compare itself to the day. Stars do not envy the moon, and the moon does not resent the sun. Each shines when it is time. Each rests when needed. Nature teaches us to let go of comparison, to rest in our own rhythm. The teaching of the weight of comparison is this: envy burdens the heart, while gratitude lifts it. Life feels lighter when you set down the stones. The path remains the same. but your steps become freer, your breath deeper, your spirit lighter. So as you prepare to sleep, imagine emptying your basket of every comparison gathered today. With each exhale, release a stone. With each inhale, welcome gratitude. Soon the basket is light, the path open, and you drift into dreams carrying nothing but peace. The broken bowl is a story that shows how envy can dissolve when gratitude learns to bloom in its place. Imagine a small temple kitchen filled with the scent of rice steaming and vegetables simmering in clay pots. On a shelf sits a row of bowls, each one chipped in its own way from years of use. One day, a monk drops his bowl. It cracks in two, the sound echoing like a bell. His first reaction is envy. He looks at the bowls of others, unbroken, smooth, whole, and thinks, "Why me? Why must I lose what they still have?" The Buddha often taught that attachment brings sorrow, but loss brings insight. To envy others who still have what we've lost is natural, yet it hides the deeper truth that impermanence is universal. No bowl, no possession, no life escapes change. When we remember this, gratitude arises, not for what is lost, but for what has been and for what still remains. There is a Zen story of a master who owned a beautiful porcelain bowl, admired by many. One day, he gathered his students, held it high, and said, "This bowl is already broken." The students gasped, thinking it was intact. The master explained, "One day it will fall. One day it will crack. When it does, I will not suffer, for I have lived with it, knowing it was already broken." The lesson was clear. Gratitude is not blind attachment. It is appreciation, knowing change will come. Think about your own life. Perhaps you've envied someone who still has what you've lost: health, youth, relationships, opportunities. Yet the broken bowl reminds us that nothing is permanent. Gratitude shifts the gaze from envying others' unbroken pieces to cherishing what still fills our hands. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual. When a bowl broke, they repaired it with golden lacquer, highlighting the crack instead of hiding it. This practice, later called golden joinery, taught them to see beauty not in perfection, but in the story of impermanence. The repaired bowl became more precious, not less, because gratitude had transformed loss into art. What would happen if you treated your own cracks this way? Could you see scars, failures, or losses not as causes for envy, but as golden seams of resilience? A Zen master might ask, when one bowl breaks, do the others become more whole? The paradox invites reflection. Our suffering does not lessen another's fortune, nor does their fortune diminish our path. The bowls are separate, yet each holds its own meal, its own story. Reflect also on how loss transforms the body. Envy tightens the chest, stiffens the jaw. But gratitude, even in loss, softens the breath. The shoulders loosen when we stop comparing bowls and start tasting the rice within them. Imagine yourself tonight sitting in that temple kitchen. Your bowl lies broken at your feet, shards scattered on the floor. At first, envy rises, watching others eat from theirs. But then, a kind monk offers to share, and you notice the rice tastes just as nourishing from a shared bowl. Gratitude washes over you, not for what broke, but for what still remains. Nourishment, companionship, life itself. There's another story of a hermit who carried only one bowl. When it cracked, he tied it together with string and kept using it. Travelers laughed at its ragged appearance. The hermit smiled and said, "It still holds water, and I am grateful. The cracks only remind me to drink carefully." His gratitude transformed what others mocked into a source of peace. Perhaps tonight, you too can look at the cracks in your own life differently. Instead of envying those with smoother bowls, you can hold your own with reverence, noticing the golden seams of your journey. Gratitude turns imperfection into depth and loss into wisdom. Outside your window, even the stars themselves are impermanent, burning and fading over ages. Yet their light reaches you tonight, crossing distance and time. Should we envy the stars still burning, or be grateful for the light we receive? The teaching of the broken bowl is this: envy sees only what is lost. Gratitude sees what remains. Every crack is a reminder to cherish the present moment, for nothing lasts forever. And that is what makes it precious. So as you prepare for rest, imagine holding a bowl in your hands. It may be chipped, it may be cracked, but it still carries nourishment. With each breath, you fill it with gratitude. With each exhale, you release envy. Soon the bowl rests gently in your lap, glowing with golden seams, holding not rice, but peace, inviting gratitude. In is like opening a window after a long night, letting the morning air sweep through the room. Imagine a monk's small hut, dim, stuffy, filled with the lingering scent of smoke from the evening's fire. The air feels heavy. Then, with one simple gesture, the monk slides the window open. Cool, fragrant air drifts inside, carrying birdsong and the scent of pine. The space transforms. Gratitude works the same way. It does not erase envy immediately, but it shifts the atmosphere of the heart, inviting freshness where heaviness lingered. The Buddha often taught that the mind shapes experience. Envy looks outward, measuring and grasping. Gratitude looks inward, recognizing and receiving. When envy visits, it is like an unwelcome guest arriving at your door. But you need not serve it tea or offer it a seat. Instead, you can gently invite gratitude in. and soon envy finds no place to stay. There is a Zen story of a student who confessed to envying another monk's skill at reciting scripture. The master listened quietly, then handed him a simple wooden bowl filled with rice. "Eat this with thanks," the master said. The student frowned. How would this cure envy? But as he ate, he noticed the warmth of the rice, the simple nourishment filling his body. His envy softened into appreciation for what he already held. The master's lesson was simple. Gratitude begins with the immediate. Think of your own life. Envy often arrives with noise, demanding attention. Gratitude is quieter, waiting patiently for an invitation. When you pause to notice even small things, the comfort of your pillow, the breath flowing in and out, the sound of evening crickets, you open the window and the air shifts. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual. Each evening, before sleep, they placed a pebble in a small jar for every blessing they recalled that day. Some days, the jar filled quickly. Other days, only one pebble landed with a soft clink. But over time, the jar became heavy with gratitude, a visible reminder of abundance. What would happen if you kept your own jar of pebbles? Could you collect moments of gratitude instead of comparisons, and watch them grow heavy with meaning? A Zen master might ask, when envy knocks, who answers the door? Envy itself, or gratitude within you? The paradox invites reflection. Envy does not stay unless we host it. Gratitude can rise like a host, welcoming peace instead. Reflect also on how inviting gratitude changes the body. Shoulders release, eyes soften, the breath deepens. The heart once clenched opens like a hand uncurling. It is not that envy disappears forever, but that it cannot dominate a space already filled with appreciation. Imagine yourself tonight in that small hut. The air feels heavy, and envy presses like smoke in your chest. You walk to the window and slide it open. Cool air pours in, fragrant with pine and earth. Your lungs fill, and with each breath, you feel lighter. Gratitude enters, quietly, yet firmly. Envy, unsettled, fades like smoke dissipating into the breeze. There's another story of a hermit who tied a string around his wrist. Each time he felt envy, he touched the string and whispered 3 things he was thankful for. Over time, the string became worn, but his heart grew strong. Gratitude had become his habit, replacing comparison with presence. Perhaps tonight, you too can try this in your own way. When envy arises, whisper thanks, not as denial, but as invitation. Gratitude is not forced, it is welcomed. Outside your window, the world breathes gratitude naturally. Trees receive rain without envy of the sea. Birds sing without envying the wind. The night sky holds countless stars, none competing for shine, each simply existing. Nature invites gratitude constantly, if we pause to notice. The teaching of inviting gratitude in is this: envy will always visit from time to time, but it cannot stay where gratitude lives. By opening the window of awareness, you let fresh air cleanse the room of the heart. So as you prepare for rest, imagine yourself opening a window wide. Cool night air drifts in, carrying peace. Gratitude steps quietly into the room, and envy slips out into the dark. You lie back, filled with ease, breathing in the freshness of presence, breathing out every shadow of comparison. Soon, sleep arrives, like a guest welcomed with gratitude. The silent monk's smile shows how gratitude can shine without words, dissolving envy simply through presence. Imagine a gathering in a temple courtyard at dusk. The lanterns glow softly, their light flickering against wooden beams. Monks sit in a circle after a long day of work, sharing tea. One young monk, weary from his tasks, notices another being praised for his dedication. Envy stirs like a restless insect inside his chest. He clenches his cup tighter, his mind comparing, measuring. But across the circle sits an older monk, quiet and serene. He hears the praise too, yet instead of envy, he simply smiles, gentle, genuine, without a trace of resentment. That smile is the teaching. The Buddha often taught that joy can be shared. In Buddhist tradition, there is a practice called mudita, or sympathetic joy, the ability to feel happiness for others' good fortune as though it were your own. Envy asks, "Why not me?" Gratitude answers, "How wonderful for them, and how blessed I am too." The smile of the silent monk carries this teaching without a single word. There is a Zen story of two disciples. One received a new robe from the abbot for his service, while the other felt bitterness stir. The bitter one grumbled in private, but the other monk, also without a robe, bowed and smiled at his brother's gift. Later, the master asked, "Who is richer, the one with the robe or the one with the smile?" The answer was clear. The robe would wear out. The smile would endure. Think about your own days. How often does envy stir when someone else is celebrated, promoted, or admired? The mind tightens, comparing and subtracting. Yet gratitude offers another path: to smile with them, sharing in their joy. This act does not diminish you. It frees you. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual of smiling at every good fortune they encountered, even inanimate ones. If the garden bloomed beautifully, they smiled. If the rain refreshed the earth, they smiled. If a friend received kindness, they smiled. Over time, their smiles became natural, an effortless response of gratitude rather than envy. What would happen if you tried this? Could you smile at another's success, not as performance, but as genuine appreciation? could you let their joy be your joy too? A Zen master might ask, when the candle beside you burns brightly, does it steal your light or help you see? The paradox shows that another's fortune is not your loss. It can become part of your vision if you choose gratitude. Reflect also on how smiling affects the body. Even when forced, a smile softens the face, lifts the spirit, relaxes tension. When genuine, it radiates warmth that others feel too. The silent monk's smile was not only his, it spread to everyone who saw it, dissolving envy like mist under sun. Imagine yourself tonight in that temple courtyard. The lanterns flicker, tea steams in your cup. You hear someone praised, and envy flickers within. But then you look across the circle and see the monk's smile, calm, kind, sincere. You mirror it, tentatively at first, then fully. Envy fades, replaced by warmth. You realize that gratitude feels better to hold than resentment. There's another story of a hermit who lived near a village. He never spoke much, but when children brought him gifts of fruit or flowers, he always responded with the same gentle smile. Over time, the villagers began to treasure that smile more than any words. They said, "He teaches us with his face, reminding us to rejoice in giving and receiving alike." His silent gratitude became his gift to the world. Perhaps tonight, you too can practice this silence. No need for long affirmations or explanations. Simply smile when envy stirs. Smile at the small blessings of your own life and at the joys of others. The smile becomes a bridge from envy to gratitude. Outside your window, the night itself smiles quietly. Stars glimmer, the moon beams softly, fireflies flicker across fields. Each light does not compete. Together, they smile across the dark. The teaching of the silent monk's smile is this: gratitude does not always need words. Sometimes it is as simple as a curve of the lips, a softening of the eyes, an inner warmth that radiates outward. That smile becomes a lantern in the night, guiding both yourself and others to peace. So as you prepare to rest, imagine yourself smiling gently, even if no one sees. The smile warms your chest, relaxes your body, and softens your thoughts. Envy, unsettled, slips away. Gratitude remains, quiet and glowing, like a lantern within. With that smile resting on your face, you drift into dreams, accompanied by peace. The mirror of the mind reminds us that envy is often less about others and more about how we see ourselves. Imagine walking into a quiet meditation hall where a large mirror stands at the far wall. The glass is clear, reflecting everything before it. Cushions, candles, monks entering silently. One monk pauses before the mirror and frowns. He sees not just his face, but also the dissatisfaction in his own eyes. Later, he confesses to his master, I envy the calm I see in the others. When I look at myself, I only see restlessness. The master replies, then the mirror has already taught you. What you envy is your own reflection, not theirs. The Buddha often taught that the mind is like a mirror, able to reflect truth clearly, yet easily smudged by thoughts and emotions. Envy does not live in the object of desire. It grows in the reflection of our own insecurities. Gratitude, by contrast, wipes the mirror clean, showing us reality without distortion. There is a Zen story of a disciple who envied a fellow student's talent for calligraphy. He practiced endlessly, but his hand trembled with frustration. One evening, he saw his own reflection in the ink water. Eyes strained, shoulders tense. Suddenly, he realized he was not envying the other student's strokes, but judging his own reflection. When he softened, his writing began to flow. Not perfect, but alive. The lesson was not about copying another's beauty, but discovering the grace already in his hand. Think about your own days. How often does envy arise not from what someone else has, but from how you perceive yourself? A neighbor's success reflects back a sense of your own lack. A friend's joy shines against the shadow of your discontent. The mirror of the mind shows you what you carry inside. Gratitude transforms the reflection, not by changing the neighbor or the friend, but by shifting your own gaze. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual called mirror meditation. They would sit before a mirror for an hour, watching thoughts and feelings rise as they looked at their own faces. At first, many grew restless, even embarrassed, but eventually they realized the mirror was not showing flaws. It was showing the mind's constant shifting. When they practiced gratitude for the reflection itself, peace followed. What would happen if you looked at your own reflections this way? Could you see not shortcomings, but simply a mind at work, a body alive, a presence worth appreciating? A Zen master might ask, when the mirror reflects dust, is the dust inside the mirror or outside it? The riddle points to this truth. Envy is not the mirror's fault. It is dust on the surface. Gratitude wipes it gently away, revealing clarity beneath. Reflect also on how envy shapes posture. The eyes narrow, the mouth tightens, the heart feels heavy. When gratitude arises, the gaze widens, the lips soften, the chest lifts. The body itself reflects the state of the mind, like a mirror of flesh and bone. Imagine yourself tonight standing before a mirror. At first, you see tiredness, perhaps disappointment, but then you look deeper. The quiet rise and fall of breath, the subtle glow of life in your eyes. You whisper, "Thank you," not to the mirror, but to yourself. The reflection softens. Gratitude has entered, and envy fades. There's another story of a hermit who placed a mirror outside his hut. whenever villagers visited, they saw themselves before speaking to him. Many were startled. Some smiled, some frowned, some grew silent. The hermit said, "The mirror is the first teaching. What you bring is what you see." He offered no lectures, only the mirror. Gratitude was the lesson when they recognized the gift of their own presence. Perhaps tonight, you too can let your own mind be a mirror, not to judge, but to reflect. When envy appears, see it as dust, not truth. When gratitude arises, let it polish the glass until clarity shines. Outside your window, the world mirrors itself. Lakes reflect mountains, moonlight glimmers on water, stars sparkle in the eyes of night. Nature never envies its own reflection. It simply shines. The teaching of the mirror of the mind is this: envy is not about others. It is a reflection of our own inner state. By inviting gratitude, we polish the mirror, and what we see becomes light. So as you prepare to rest, imagine holding a soft cloth in your hand. With each breath, you wipe away the dust of comparison, the smudges of envy. Slowly, the mirror clears, reflecting peace back to you. In that clarity, you close your eyes, drifting into sleep with gratitude shining like starlight in the glass of your mind. The empty teacup teaches that fullness does not come from having more, but from appreciating what is already present. Imagine a quiet tea room with tatami mats underfoot and paper lanterns casting a soft golden glow. A monk sits across from a visitor who complains endlessly about what he lacks: a larger house, more respect, greater skill. As he speaks, the monk silently pours tea into the visitor's cup. He keeps pouring even after it fills, until the tea overflows onto the mat. The visitor jumps up in protest. The monk looks calmly at him and says, "Like this cup, your mind is full of envy and desire. Until you empty it, nothing more can enter." The Buddha often taught that clinging fills us with restlessness, while letting go creates space for gratitude. Envy fills the mind with not enough, so that no matter what blessings surround us, we cannot see them. Gratitude empties the cup, making space to taste what we already have. There is a Zen story of a student who envied others' wisdom. He read voraciously, studied tirelessly, yet felt unsatisfied. His master handed him an empty cup and said, "When you can drink from this, you will know wisdom." The student was puzzled. How can one drink from an empty vessel? But after sitting with it, he realized emptiness itself is the teaching. When he let go of comparison, he could finally receive insight. The empty cup was not a loss, but a doorway. Think about your own life. How often do you fill your mental cup with envy, scrolling through others' achievements, wishing your own life looked different? Each wish is like pouring tea into an already brimming cup. No wonder it spills, creating frustration. But when you pause, emptying the cup with a sigh of gratitude, you discover space for contentment. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual before meals. They turned their bowls upside down for a moment before eating, a reminder that emptiness precedes fulfillment. Only when they flipped the bowls upright were they ready to receive food. This gesture reminded them to arrive at the table with an empty mind, ready to taste each bite with gratitude rather than grasping. What would happen if you treated your own heart this way? Could you pause, empty yourself of comparisons, and make room to savor what is already here? A Zen master might ask, is the cup valuable because it is full or because it is empty? The paradox invites reflection. Usefulness often comes not from what is inside, but from the space to receive. Reflect also on how envy feels like a too full cup. Thoughts slosh, emotions spill. The mind grows restless. Gratitude, by contrast, feels like a steady vessel, open, calm, ready. The body reflects this shift. Tension eases, breath steadies, posture relaxes. Imagine yourself tonight in that tea room. A monk sets a simple clay cup before you. At first, it feels too plain, too small. But as you look closer, you realize its emptiness is a gift. You lift it to your lips and sip. Not envy, not desire, but calm. Gratitude fills the cup invisibly, yet fully. There's another story of a hermit who owned only one cup. When asked if he wanted a finer one, he laughed. This cup teaches me daily. When it is empty, I am rich with space. When it is full, I am rich with drink. How can I envy another's gold when my clay gives me both riches? His gratitude turned simplicity into wealth. Perhaps tonight, you too can see your own cup differently. It may be plain, it may not match another's, but it holds your life. Gratitude lets you taste its richness fully, while envy makes it spill. Outside your window, the world practices emptiness naturally. Night empties the sky of sun, only to fill it with stars. Trees empty themselves of leaves, only to grow them anew. Rivers empty into oceans, yet never lose themselves. Emptiness is not lack, it is renewal. The teaching of the empty teacup is this: envy clutters the heart, gratitude empties it. Only when empty can we truly receive. So as you prepare for sleep, imagine placing a cup beside your bed. With each exhale, you pour envy and comparison out. With each inhale, you invite gratitude in, not as weight, but as presence. The cup remains steady, neither overflowing nor dry, simply holding peace. With that image, you drift into dreams, the cup of your heart filled with quiet abundance. The shadow of envy is like a passing cloud, It darkens the day for a while, but it cannot remain. Imagine walking along a meadow in late afternoon. The sun is bright, warming your skin, yet a cloud drifts across the sky. For a few moments, the world grows dim, colors muted, air cooler. You might sigh, wishing the cloud away. But soon the wind moves it along, and the light returns. Envy works in the same way. It is a shadow cast across the mind. If we chase it, it grows larger. If we wait with patience, gratitude lets the sun return. The Buddha often taught that all emotions, even painful ones, are impermanent. Anger, fear, envy, they arise, linger for a time, and then pass away. To mistake envy for truth is like mistaking the shadow for the sun. Gratitude teaches us to notice the light still shining, even when shadows appear. There is a Zen story of a young monk who envied his elder brother for always being calm. "His peace is a sun that makes me feel small," he complained. The master asked him to stand in the courtyard at noon. "See how small your shadow is when the sun is overhead," the master said. "Now wait until evening." As the sun lowered, the shadow stretched long across the ground. "Envy works the same," the master continued. "The more you step away from your own light, the longer the shadow grows." The teaching was simple. By standing closer to one's own center, envy shrinks. Think about your own days. Perhaps you've noticed shadows cast by others' successes, an award won, a house purchased, a smile admired. For a time, envy darkens your mood. But the light of your own blessings never disappears. Gratitude shifts your gaze back to the sun, reminding you that shadows cannot stay forever. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual of shadow watching. At sunset, they would sit facing west, observing how their shadows lengthened and then dissolved into darkness. The practice reminded them that all forms, even shadows, fade into emptiness. In this way, they trained themselves not to fear or cling to envy, but to see it as temporary. What would happen if you saw your own envy as just a shadow? Could you let it pass without chasing it, knowing gratitude is the sun waiting behind? A Zen master might ask, does the shadow block the sun or reveal it? The riddle points to paradox. Shadows exist only because light shines. Envy, too, can be a teacher, reminding us to turn back toward gratitude. Reflect also on how shadows feel in the body. When envy arrives, the chest feels heavy, the eyes dim, the breath shallow. Gratitude, like sunlight, warms the body. Shoulders ease, eyes brighten, breath expands. Just as a shadow cools the skin, envy chills the spirit. And just as sunlight returns warmth, gratitude restores peace. Imagine yourself tonight standing in that meadow. The cloud passes overhead, casting a brief shadow. At first, you frown, but then you lift your face and feel the sun return, golden and steady. The shadow is gone, and you realize it was never permanent. Your heart lightens. Gratitude flows in like sunlight across the grass. There's another story of a hermit who lived in a valley where mountains often blocked the sun. Villagers asked if he grew sad in the shadows. He laughed and said, "No, the shadow teaches me patience, and patience makes the sun sweeter when it returns." His gratitude transformed shadow into teacher. Perhaps tonight, you too can shift this way. When envy shadows your heart, you can say, "This too will pass." Instead of fighting, you wait with gratitude. Soon, the light returns. Outside your window, the night itself is filled with shadows. Yet without them, stars would not shine so clearly, nor the moon so bright. Shadows do not destroy light. They reveal it in contrast. The teaching of the shadow of envy is this: envy is temporary, like a cloud drifting across the sky. Gratitude is the steady sun behind it, always waiting to return. So as you prepare for rest, imagine lying in a meadow. A shadow drifts across, but soon the sun warms you again. Each breath draws in light. Each exhale releases shadow. Slowly, the day fades, and night carries you into dreams where envy dissolves, and gratitude shines gently, like the moon. The monk and the merchant is a story of contrast. One man burdened by envy, the other freed by gratitude. Imagine a bustling market at dawn. Stalls brim with bright fabrics, steaming food, jars of honey, and baskets of fruit. The air is alive with shouts and laughter, coins clinking, animals braying. In the midst of this noise stands a wealthy merchant, proud of his goods and envied by many. Nearby, a monk in simple robes carries only a begging bowl. Their paths cross, and so begins the lesson. The Buddha often taught that wealth without contentment brings no peace. To envy the rich is to forget that possessions alone do not ease the heart. Gratitude, even with little, creates serenity. The contrast between the monk and the merchant makes this clear. One holds many treasures, but craves more, while the other holds almost nothing, yet feels complete. There is a Zen story of a merchant who scoffed at monks. "You have nothing," he said. "How can you be happy?" The monk smiled and replied, "And you, with all your possessions, how can you rest? I sleep soundly on the floor, while you lie awake counting coins." The merchant's laughter faltered, for he knew the monk was right. His riches had become chains. The monk's emptiness was his freedom. Think about your own life. How often does envy stir when you see someone with more money, more success, more beauty? Yet how often do you pause to notice what is already enough? Gratitude shifts the gaze from what you lack to what supports you now. The breath, the roof above, the warmth of your bed. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual of placing a single grain of rice in their bowls before meals. They bowed to it as if it were a feast, reminding themselves that even the smallest nourishment was abundance. In this way, they trained gratitude, turning each meal into a celebration rather than a comparison. What would happen if you approached your own life this way? Could you find richness in one breath, one meal, one moment, instead of envying another's wealth? A Zen master might ask, who is poorer, the man with little who is content, or the man with much who is restless? The riddle reveals that poverty and wealth are states of mind as much as possessions. Reflect also on how envy feels like hunger that never ends. No matter how much you consume, the appetite grows. Gratitude, by contrast, satisfies deeply, turning even small portions into feasts. The body mirrors this shift. Envy tightens the stomach. Gratitude soothes it. Imagine yourself tonight walking through that market. The merchant boasts of his treasures, his stall overflowing with goods. For a moment, envy flickers. But then you notice the monk, sitting calmly with his bowl. His face is serene, his eyes soft. He holds nothing, yet radiates peace. You realize you would rather carry his quiet heart than the merchant's restless riches. There's another story of a hermit who watched caravans pass daily, laden with gold and spices. Travelers often envied his solitude, while he envied their luxuries. One day, a storm scattered their goods into the river. The hermit offered them shelter, sharing his rice and fire. As they ate, one traveler whispered, "Tonight, you are richer than us all." The hermit bowed, realizing that wealth is not what you hold in your hands, but what you share from your heart. Perhaps tonight you too can reflect on your own treasures, not the ones that can be counted, but the ones that can be felt. Peace in your breath, warmth in your body, kindness in your heart. These cannot be stolen, sold, or envied away. Outside your window, the night holds its own market of abundance. Stars scatter like jewels. The moon glows like a lantern. The wind carries scents of earth and leaves. None belongs to anyone. All are gifts freely shared. The teaching of the monk and the merchant is this: envy measures wealth by possessions, but gratitude measures wealth by peace. One who has little but rests content is richer than one who has much but aches for more. So as you prepare for rest, imagine yourself as the monk with a simple bowl. You bow to the breath, to the softness of your pillow, to the quiet of the night. Each is a treasure, filling your bowl with peace. With gratitude, you drift into dreams, richer than any merchant, free as the open sky. The practice of bowing teaches us how even envy can be softened through gestures of humility. Imagine a temple courtyard swept clean at dawn, the flagstones cool beneath bare feet. Monks gather for morning practice, their robes swaying lightly in the breeze. Before entering the hall, each monk bows, hands pressed together, forehead lowered to the earth. To an outsider, this might look like mere formality, but in truth, it is a ritual of surrender. Each bow empties the heart of pride, softens envy, and plants the seed of gratitude. The Buddha often taught that pride and envy are twins. Pride says, "I am above," and envy says, "I am below." Both distort the truth. Bowing brings the body into balance with the earth, reminding us that we are neither greater nor lesser. Gratitude arises in that balance, for we remember our shared ground. There is a Zen story of a student who envied a fellow monk's skill in meditation. Each day, he resented seeing him sit with perfect stillness. One morning, in frustration, he bowed before the altar with extra force, pressing his forehead so hard it hurt. The master noticed and asked, "Why do you bow like this?" The student admitted his envy. The master smiled gently and said, "Good. Bow to him as you bow to the Buddha. Then watch what happens." The student tried it, bowing whenever envy arose. To his surprise, the act dissolved his resentment. Each bow turned envy into respect, and respect into peace. Think about your own life. How often do you feel small before someone else's success, beauty, or ease? The mind stiffens with envy, yet the body remains upright, proud, defensive. Bowing, whether literal or inward, is a way of softening. When we bow, we say, "I honor you. I honor myself." We share this ground. Gratitude grows from this soil. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual of bowing not only to people, but also to ordinary objects. They bowed to the broom, to the rice pot, to the cushion. Why? To remind themselves that nothing is beneath respect. Even a cracked bowl or a wilted flower deserved gratitude. Over time, this practice made envy difficult to sustain. For how could you resent when your heart bowed in reverence to all? What would happen if you bowed, even silently, to those you envy? Could you shift the sting into admiration, and admiration into joy? A Zen master might ask, when you bow, who lowers? The body? The ego? Or an envy itself? The riddle reveals that bowing is less about posture and more about surrender. Envy cannot cling when humility bows it away. Reflect also on how bowing changes the body. Shoulders roll forward, tension dissolves, breath deepens. The forehead touching the ground is a reminder. You come from the earth and return to it. Gratitude naturally rises when we remember this shared humility. Imagine yourself tonight in that temple courtyard, Lanterns sway softly. Dawn light spills across the stones. You join the monks in bowing, at first stiffly, then more freely. With each bow, a layer of envy slides off your back, falling silently onto the earth. Soon you are lighter, your heart open. Gratitude breathes in, envy breathes out. There's another story of a hermit who bowed each time envy visited. Villagers laughed at him, saying, "Why lower yourself to those who surpass you?" He replied, "By bowing, I lift myself from envy. My head lowers, but my heart rises." Over time, his humility became radiant, and villagers came to bow back, finding peace in the gesture. Perhaps tonight you too can bow, not necessarily with your body, but with your heart. Bow to the lessons of the day. Bow to the joys of others. Bow to your own breath. Each bow is an invitation for gratitude to enter. Outside your window, the world bows constantly. Trees bend in the wind. Flowers bow with the weight of dew. Rivers bow to gravity as they flow to the sea. Even the sun bows beyond the horizon, only to rise again. Nature teaches humility through its rhythms. The teaching of the practice of bowing is this: envy stands tall and rigid, but gratitude bows, soft and open. By lowering ourselves, we find we are lifted. Humility empties the heart of envy, leaving space for peace. So as you prepare for rest, imagine bowing inwardly. With each breath, you lower envy to the ground, and with each exhale, gratitude rises gently within you. Soon, you are bowed into stillness, resting not in comparison, but in peace. In that posture of surrender, you drift into dreams, carried by quiet humility. The bamboo grove reminds us of resilience and flexibility, qualities that dissolve envy and nurture gratitude. Imagine walking into a dense bamboo forest at dusk. The tall stalks sway gently in the evening breeze, their hollow bodies whispering as they bend. A storm rolls in, rain falls, wind rushes. The bamboo bends low, nearly touching the earth, yet it does not break. When the storm passes, it rises tall again, leaves glistening with droplets. Watching this, a monk once said, "Envy is like a rigid branch that snaps. Gratitude is like bamboo, bending with the wind." The Buddha often taught that clinging leads to suffering. Envy clings to what others have, stiff and unyielding, while gratitude flows like water through the hollow bamboo, filling it with peace. To be rigid is to break under life's storms. To be grateful is to bend, to adapt, and to rise again. There is a Zen story of a monk who envied another's eloquence in teaching. He tried to copy his style, forcing his words to match, but they broke awkwardly. The master took him into a bamboo grove and asked, "Why does bamboo sing in the wind, while oak branches snap?" The monk listened to the rustling stalks and realized strength is not in rigid imitation, but in flexible authenticity. Gratitude arises when we value our own natural way instead of envying another's. Think about your own life. How often does envy make you rigid, trying to copy another's path, resisting your own? Gratitude softens that stiffness. It allows you to bend, to flow with your unique rhythm, and to find peace in your own growth. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual of walking meditation in bamboo groves during storms. They felt the stalks bend around them, brushing their shoulders, reminding them to yield. Instead of envying another's strength, they practiced gratitude for their own flexibility. In this way, storms became teachers. What would happen if you treated envy not as a flaw, but as a sign you were resisting? Could you bend, let go, and rise again with gratitude? A Zen master might ask, is bamboo strong because it resists, or because it yields? The riddle reveals that true resilience lies not in comparison, but in adaptability. Reflect also on how rigidity and envy feel in the body. Muscles tighten, jaw clenches, breath shortens. Gratitude loosens the body, shoulders relax, spine softens, breath deepens. Like bamboo, the body bends without breaking when filled with appreciation. Imagine yourself tonight in that bamboo grove. Rain falls softly. Wind sways the stalks. You stand among them, feeling their resilience. For a moment, envy rises, comparing yourself to others stronger or taller. But then you notice how bamboo thrives, not by competing, but by bending together in harmony. Gratitude fills your chest, and you sway with the grove, peaceful. There's another story of a hermit who built his hut beside bamboo. Villagers asked why he chose such fragile plants for company. He answered, "Fragile? They bend where oak breaks. They empty themselves where stone resists. Each stalk teaches me humility and strength." Over time, villagers saw that the hermit's calm reflected the bamboo's quiet resilience. Perhaps tonight you too can learn from bamboo. When envy stiffens your mind, remember to bend. When comparison tries to snap you, flow instead. Gratitude does not deny storms. It helps you rise after them. Outside your window, the world bends constantly. Grass yields under footsteps, rivers curve around rocks, clouds scatter with the wind. Nature is flexible, and in its flexibility lies strength. The teaching of the bamboo grove is this: envy stiffens and breaks, gratitude bends and endures. To live like bamboo is to sway without fear, to rise without envy, to rest in quiet resilience. So as you prepare for rest, imagine yourself as bamboo in a gentle wind. Your body sways, your breath flows, your heart hollows like a stalk, open and free. gratitude fills the space within, while envy slips away like rain sliding off green leaves. In that grove of stillness, you fall asleep, bending into peace. The fisherman's net is a story about how envy tangles the heart, while gratitude loosens it into freedom. Imagine a small fishing village at dawn. The sea glows pink with the first light of day, and fishermen prepare their nets. One man has a large, sturdy net, wide enough to catch many fish. Another has only a small, frayed one. As they return in the evening, the first boat overflows with fish, while the second holds only a modest catch. The man with the smaller net looks at his neighbor's abundance and feels envy tighten around him, like the very ropes he throws into the sea. The Buddha often taught that craving is like a net itself. It catches and entangles us, leaving us struggling for freedom. Envy is a form of craving, the wish for another's portion, another's fortune, another's net. Gratitude, by contrast, cuts through the tangles, freeing us to see that even a modest catch can sustain, and even a small net can bring peace. There is a Zen story of a monk who envied a fellow's wide influence and many students. His master handed him a fishing net and asked him to walk with it across the forest. The net snagged on every branch and rock, tearing holes as he stumbled. "This is envy," the master said. "Always catching, always tearing. Drop the net, and you are free." The monk let go, and suddenly the forest path opened wide, clear, and peaceful. Think about your own life. How often does envy feel like a net around your thoughts, catching you in comparisons, tangling you in longing? Gratitude is the knife that cuts the cords, reminding you that your portion, your catch, your path is enough. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual of tying a simple rope around their wrists. When they felt envy, they gently tugged at it, noticing how the rope pressed into their skin. Then they untied it, reminding themselves that bondage was optional. They laughed at their own minds, learning that gratitude comes when we choose to loosen the knots. What would happen if you saw your own envy as just a knot to be untied? Could you let gratitude slip through the weave, loosening the tension until peace returned? A Zen master might ask, is the fish trapped by the net or by its struggle? The paradox invites reflection. Often, envy grows stronger because we resist it. Gratitude arrives when we stop struggling and simply swim free. Reflect also on how envy feels in the body, like tight ropes across the chest, like tangled cords in the stomach. Gratitude, in contrast, feels like release, the loosening of knots, the breath flowing again, the body stretching wide and free. Imagine yourself tonight on the shore of that fishing village. You hold your own net, perhaps smaller, perhaps frayed. At first, envy stirs as you see others hauling larger catches. But then you look at your own basket. Enough fish to feed you, enough to share. You smile, realizing that gratitude makes your catch feel abundant. The ropes no longer bind. They fall lightly into your hands. There's another story of a hermit who fished with a single line while others cast nets. Villagers mocked him, saying, "You will never have enough." Yet he smiled, catching one fish at a time, savoring each. When asked why he did not envy larger hauls, he replied, "One fish satisfies hunger. The rest is envy's banquet." His gratitude turned simplicity into contentment. Perhaps tonight, you too can release your own net of comparisons. You may not catch all the world's treasures, but you already hold what you need. Gratitude helps you see it clearly. Outside your window, the ocean itself offers a lesson. Waves rise and fall without envy of one another. Each crest fulfills its moment before sinking back into the sea. None clings, none competes. They are all part of the same ocean. The teaching of the fisherman's net is this: envy entangles, but gratitude frees. You can spend your life caught in comparisons, or you can untie the knots and rest in enoughness. So as you prepare for rest, imagine yourself laying down a heavy net. The ropes fall from your hands, the weight leaves your shoulders. With each breath, gratitude flows in like the tide, loosening every knot. Soon, you drift like a fish in open water, free and at peace, carried into sleep by the quiet rhythm of the sea. The traveling monk reminds us that envy often fades when we shift our perspective from lack to journey. Imagine a dusty road stretching across rolling hills. A young monk walks with blistered feet, carrying only a small satchel. Along the way, he passes grand caravans, merchants with fine horses, nobles riding in carriages, travelers with sturdy boots and rich supplies. For a moment, his heart tightens with envy. He thinks, "Why must I walk while they ride? Why must my path be so bare?" But as he continues, something changes. He hears birdsong in the trees, feels the cool breeze against his skin, and notices wildflowers blooming along the Isersaw road. Sights and sounds those in carriages miss entirely. Gratitude rises as he realizes his path may be humbler, but it is filled with treasures uniquely his. The Buddha often taught that the path matters more than the destination. Envy narrows our vision, making us fixate on where others are or what they carry. Gratitude widens the view, reminding us to notice the journey itself, the small joys, the subtle beauty, the lessons we gather step by step. There is a Zen story of a monk who envied his friend's quick progress in meditation. "He is far ahead of me," he complained. The master smiled and replied, "But while he runs ahead, you notice the flowers by the roadside. Which path is poorer?" The monk realized that envy blinded him to the gifts in his own slower pace. The lesson was simple. Gratitude blooms when we honor our own steps, not compare them to others. Think about your own life. How often do you look at someone else's journey, their milestones, achievements, possessions, and feel behind? Yet what if your pace is carrying you through scenery they cannot see? Gratitude allows you to enjoy your own road, even if it looks different from another's. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual called walking gratitude. Each day, as they took step on the temple path, they silently said, "Thank you," with each footfall. Left, right. Thank you, thank you. This turned ordinary walking into a prayer. Even when their bodies ached, they found joy in the rhythm of gratitude. What would happen if you tried this tomorrow? Could each step remind you of the ground that carries you, the air that sustains you, the life that moves through you? Could gratitude replace comparison in your stride? A Zen master might ask, is the traveler poor because he walks barefoot, or rich because he feels the earth? The riddle reveals that richness is often hidden in what envy overlooks. Reflect also on how envy feels like a heavy pack on the back, slowing, straining, exhausting. Gratitude, by contrast, feels like light shoes on your feet, steady, effortless, even joyful. The body itself mirrors the journey of the mind. Imagine yourself tonight on that dusty road. Caravans pass, horses gallop, wagons creak. For a moment, envy flares. You wish for their ease. But then you notice the sky, quaint and endless, painted with hues of sunset. You hear the wind in the grass, smell the earth cooling after the day's heat. Suddenly, you smile. You realize your journey is not poorer, it is simply your own. Gratitude fills your steps, lightening the road. There's another story of a hermit who never left his mountain. Travelers often envied his peace, while he sometimes envied their adventures. One evening, he sat by a stream and thought, I may not see distant lands, but I see this water flow endlessly, reflecting the same stars they see. Gratitude eased his envy, showing him that his small world was still vast. Perhaps tonight, you too can look at your journey this way. It may not match another's, but it is yours, filled with blessings they may never know. Gratitude shifts your gaze from where you wish you were to where you are, alive, breathing, resting. Outside your window, every traveler of the night is on a different path. Stars move slowly across the sky. Fireflies dart quickly. Owls glide silently. None compares. Each follows its own way. Together, they create the great journey of night. The teaching of the traveling monk is this: envy narrows the path into misery. Gratitude widens it into wonder. Every step, even weary ones, carries hidden beauty when seen with grateful eyes. So as you prepare for rest, Imagine yourself walking gently, barefoot on a quiet road. Each step whispers, "Thank you." The night sky arches above, the earth supports below. You carry no envy, only gratitude. With that rhythm in your body, you drift into dreams, still walking, still grateful, still at peace. The shared candle teaches us that another's light does not diminish our own. Imagine a small meditation hall, dark except for one candle burning at the center. Its flame flickers softly, illuminating faces in warm glow. A monk enters with an unlit candle, hesitating. He watches the single flame with envy, so steady, so bright, while his own wick remains cold. At last, the master leans forward, touches the two wicks together, and the second candle springs to life. The master says, "See?" His flame did not shrink by giving you light. In fact, the room is now brighter. The lesson is simple. Gratitude grows when we realize that joy multiplies, not divides. The Buddha often taught that generosity dissolves suffering. Envy arises when we see happiness as limited. Like a pie with fewer slices, the more people eat. Gratitude remembers that joy is infinite, like flame. One candle can light thousands without losing its own brightness. There is a Zen story of a monk who envied another's wisdom. One day, he asked timidly for guidance. The wise monk shared a teaching, and suddenly, the younger one saw clearly. "But doesn't it lessen your wisdom to give it away?" he asked. The elder smiled. "Wisdom is like fire. It spreads by sharing, not by hoarding." Gratitude filled the younger monk, for he realized envy was unnecessary. Light was abundant. Think about your own life. How often does envy make you believe someone else's gain is your loss? Another's promotion, beauty, or success feels like it takes from your share. But gratitude shifts this view. Just as one candle lighting another brightens the whole room, another's joy can add to your own if you allow it. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual during evening prayers. Each monk carried a candle, but only one was lit at the start. They passed the flame from one to another until the hall glowed with hundreds of lights. Each time, they whispered, "Your light does not lessen mine." This became a meditation on gratitude, teaching them that joy shared is joy multiplied. What would happen if you treated others' successes like shared candles? Could you let their light brighten your own life instead of envying it? A Zen master might ask, "When the sun shines, do you resent its warmth on another's face? Or do you feel it too?" The riddle reminds us that joy is not a limited resource. Gratitude expands it until it touches everyone. Reflect also on how envy feels like darkness, a cold space where you believe only one flame can burn. Gratitude, by contrast, feels like warmth spreading across the skin. The body softens in gratitude, just as rooms brighten with shared candles. Imagine yourself tonight in that meditation hall. You sit with an unlit candle, feeling envy for the single flame. But then your wick catches fire, and you realize your envy was misplaced. Now the hall glows brighter because of you. Gratitude floods your heart, not for what you took, but for what was shared. There's another story of a hermit who lived with one lantern. When travelers came at night, he always lit their torches from his own. Some villagers mocked him, saying, "You will run out of light." But his flame never diminished. In fact, the lantern seemed brighter when surrounded by others. The hermit laughed, saying, "I am richest when I share." Gratitude was his wealth. Perhaps tonight, you too can light your own candle from another's joy. When envy stirs, whisper, "Their light does not diminish mine." Together, we shine brighter. Outside your window, the night is filled with candles of its own. Stars scatter across the sky, not competing, but glowing together. A single star may seem small, but together they weave constellations. None envies, none hoards. All shine, and the sky becomes magnificent. The teaching of the shared candle is this: envy sees joy as scarce. Gratitude sees joy as infinite. The more we share, the brighter the world becomes. So as you prepare for rest, imagine holding a candle. A flame touches it, and it glows. Around you, countless other candles flicker into life until the night is filled with light. Gratitude warms you. Envy fades into darkness. With your heart glowing like a candle, you close your eyes and drift into sleep, peaceful and bright. The Garden of Contentment reminds us that gratitude is the soil where peace grows, while envy is the weed that chokes it. Imagine an old temple garden tucked behind stone walls. Within it, rows of vegetables grow in neat patches: cabbages, beans, cucumbers, and herbs. The soil is dark, the air fragrant with mint and basil. A young monk tends this garden daily, watering, weeding, and harvesting. Yet he cannot help but glance over the wall at a neighboring plot. That garden bursts with roses, lilies, and lotus blossoms, and envy blooms in his chest. Why do I only grow food while he grows beauty? He wonders. The Buddha often taught that craving blinds us to what nourishes us. The monk's vegetables, though plain, sustain the body. The neighbor's flowers, though radiant, feed the heart. Both are gifts. Gratitude sees the value in each. Envy insists one is better. There is a Zen story of two monks assigned to different duties, one to the flower garden, the other to the vegetable patch. Each envied the other. One longed for beauty, the other for usefulness. Their master brought them together and served a meal decorated with flowers. "Without the gardener, we would have no food," he said. Then he placed a vase of blossoms on the table. Without the flowers, this room would be barren. The monks bowed to each other, realizing their work was equally sacred. Gratitude dissolved their envy. Think about your own life. How often do you envy another's garden, their talents, possessions, or relationships? Yet your own garden, though different, may hold treasures they lack. Gratitude is the ability to see your soil as fertile, your harvest as meaningful. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual of exchanging small gifts from their gardens: a sprig of mint, a single cucumber, a handful of blossoms. In giving, they learned to honor one another's gifts without envy. Each offering was both humble and profound, reminding them that beauty and sustenance are both needed. What would happen if you exchanged envy for blessing? Could you look at another's garden with admiration while tending your own with love? A Zen master might ask, does the bee envy the butterfly, or does each gather what it needs? The riddle reminds us that life provides diverse paths. Gratitude honors your own nectar. Reflect also on how envy feels in the body. It is like weeds, tight, tangled, stealing energy. Gratitude feels like rich soil, open, fertile, grounding. When you tend to gratitude, your body softens, breath deepens, and peace grows like roots. Imagine yourself tonight walking in that temple garden. Your vegetables sway gently in the breeze, green and fresh. You glance at the flowers beyond the wall, and envy stirs. But then you kneel, pulling a cucumber from the vine. Its cool weight rests in your hand, its scent fresh and crisp. Gratitude rises. You realize this too is beauty. This too is gift. The flowers are lovely, but so is your harvest. Peace fills your chest as you bow to your own soil. There's another story of a hermit who grew both flowers and vegetables outside his hut. Travelers admired the flowers, and he envied their praise. One day, a hungry wanderer came, ignoring the blossoms, and gratefully ate from the hermit's cabbages. Tears filled the hermit's eyes. He realized his true wealth was in sustenance, not in applause. Gratitude turned envy into joy. Perhaps tonight, you too can look at your own garden. It may not be filled with roses, but it may feed you in ways unseen. Gratitude allows you to honor both the blossoms you admire and the harvest you hold. Outside your window, the world is a garden of contentment. Stars bloom like flowers. The moon ripens like fruit. Crickets sing like rustling leaves. Each has its place. Each contributes to the whole. None envies, none competes. They all simply grow. The teaching of the Garden of Contentment is this: envy weeds the heart. Gratitude cultivates it. By tending your own soil, you find that peace blossoms in forms you once overlooked. So as you prepare for rest, imagine kneeling in your garden. You press your hands into the soil, feeling its richness. You whisper thanks for your own harvest. However humble, weeds of envy fall away, and gratitude grows tall and steady. With this garden in your heart, you drift into dreams, rooted in peace. The river of enough teaches that envy arises when we grasp at more, while gratitude flows by resting in sufficiency. Imagine a wide river winding through valleys, its waters sparkling beneath the morning sun. Along the banks, villagers gather, some with large clay jars, some with small cups, others with nothing but their hands. Each fills what they can carry. A young man with a small cup looks enviously at another who fills a jar, muttering, "Why is my share so little?" Yet the river never stops flowing. Its water is endless, waiting for whoever returns. Gratitude whispers, "What I hold now is enough," and the river will always be here. The Buddha often taught that greed blinds us to abundance. Envy makes us see scarcity in the midst of plenty, like a thirsty man standing knee-deep in water. Gratitude opens our eyes to the river already flowing around us, assuring us that life provides what is needed, moment by moment. There is a Zen story of a monk who envied a brother's greater alms. "His bowl overflows, while mine is barely filled," he complained. Their master led them to a river and said, "Drink." The envious monk cupped his hands, drank deeply, and realized he could not possibly consume the whole river. The master smiled. "What difference does it make if his bowl is fuller? The river is endless. Your thirst is already quenched." The teaching was clear. Envy looks at bowls, gratitude looks at rivers. Think about your own life. How often do you compare your cup to someone else's jar, forgetting that life itself is a river? A paycheck, a meal, a moment of love, each is enough to sustain now. Gratitude helps us return to the flow, while envy keeps us fixated on containers. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual called river hands. Whenever they felt envy, they went to the temple well, cupped water in their hands, and drank slowly. They reminded themselves that abundance was always flowing, regardless of bowls, jars, or cups. This ritual turned envy into presence. What would happen if you lived as though life were an endless river instead of a competition for jars? Could you let gratitude flow into your hands, sip by sip? A Zen master might ask, is thirst quenched by the size of the vessel or by the water itself? The riddle reveals that satisfaction does not depend on how much you hold, but on recognizing the sufficiency of what you already have. Reflect also on how envy feels like thirst that never ends. Parched lips, tight throat, restless craving. Gratitude feels like cool water sliding down the throat, spreading ease through the body. The difference is not in supply, but in perception. Imagine yourself tonight sitting beside that river. You hold a small cup, watching others with larger jars. At first, envy burns, but then you dip your cup, drink deeply, and feel water soothe your body. The river flows endlessly, shimmering in moonlight. You smile, realizing this is enough. The river will always be here. Gratitude fills your chest like water fills your cup. There's another story of a hermit who lived by a spring. Travelers often envied those with greater lands or wealth. The hermit would lead them to the spring and say, "Drink." Afterward, he asked, "Is your thirst gone?" When they nodded, he laughed softly. "Then you are richer than kings, for no crown can quench thirst like water." His gratitude for the spring made envy seem foolish. Perhaps tonight you too can drink from your own river. It may be the breath flowing steadily, the love of someone dear, the simple comfort of rest. Each sip of gratitude is enough. Outside your window, the world is filled with rivers of enough. The wind flows endlessly, filling lungs with air. Night flows endlessly, carrying stars across the sky. Time flows endlessly, offering each moment as a gift. None of these can be hoarded, yet each sustains. The teaching of the river of enough is this: envy stares at others' vessels, gratitude drinks from the flow. Life is not measured by how much you hold, but by whether you taste its abundance. So as you prepare for rest, imagine sitting by the river. You dip your hands, drink slowly, and feel peace spread. Envy slips away like ripples downstream, while gratitude flows endlessly within you. With the river's lullaby in your heart, you drift into dreams, quenched by enoughness. The bell of gratitude teaches us that envy's noise can be quieted with a single mindful note. Imagine a temple bell hanging in a wooden frame, its bronze surface cool and weathered by years of use. Each morning, a monk strikes it once with a wooden mallet. The sound resonates deep and long, vibrating through the valley, rippling across forests and fields. Villagers pause in their work to listen. The bell does not compete with the wind or the birdsong. It simply rings, steady and full. Gratitude is like that bell, simple, sufficient, clear. Envy, on the other hand, is like a clamor of restless voices, all speaking at once, drowning out peace. The Buddha often taught that mindfulness begins with stopping, breathing, and listening. Envy is the restless mind chasing after what others have, a noisy marketplace within. Gratitude is the bell that calls the marketplace to stillness. One strike, one breath, and silence opens. There is a Zen story of a monk who envied another's eloquence in teaching. His master brought him to the bell and asked him to strike it lightly, then to strike it with steady strength. The first strike was dull and faded quickly. The second filled the hall with resonance. The master said, "Envy makes a weak sound. It dies quickly. Gratitude strikes the heart with steadiness, and its echo carries far." The monk understood. Instead of envying another's words, he could let gratitude turn his own voice into a bell. Think about your own life. How often does envy create noise inside you? Chatter, restlessness, judgment. Gratitude is the pause that lets you breathe, the sound that reminds you of presence. Like the bell, gratitude does not need many notes. Even one moment of appreciation resonates long. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual. Whenever envy arose, they struck a small hand bell, closed their eyes, and listened until the last vibration faded. This reminded them that envy is temporary noise, but gratitude lingers, soft and enduring. What would happen if you listened for gratitude in the noise of your own mind? Could you let a single breath become your bell, resonating peace through your body? A Zen master might ask, does the bell envy the wind, or does it simply ring? The riddle points to this truth. Every voice has its own note. Gratitude is hearing your own without needing to drown out another's. Reflect also on how envy feels in the body. The mind races, the heart pounds, the breath grows shallow. Like standing in a noisy crowd, gratitude feels like a single, deep tone vibrating through the chest, grounding and steady. The body eases when it hears its own bell. Imagine yourself tonight in the temple courtyard. The bell hangs above, silent and waiting. A monk hands you the mallet. You strike gently, and the sound blooms, deep, rich, filling the valley. Envy dissolves into stillness. Gratitude echoes long after the sound fades, leaving peace in its wake. There's another story of a hermit who owned a small bell. Each night before sleep, he struck it once. Travelers asked why. He replied, "It is my reminder that this day was enough. No matter what I lost or envied, the bell tells me gratitude is greater." His single note became his lullaby. Perhaps tonight, you too can strike your own inner bell. It might be through whispering thanks, through sighing deeply, or through listening to silence. Gratitude resonates when you allow it. Outside your window, the world is filled with bells of its own. Crickets chirp in chorus, owls call into the dark, leaves rustle in the wind. None competes, none envies. They each sound their note, and together create a symphony of night. The teaching of the bell of gratitude is this: envy is noise, gratitude is resonance. One clutters the heart, the other clears it. A single node of thanks can quiet even the loudest comparisons. So as you prepare for rest, imagine striking a great bronze bell. Its sound fills your chest, travels outward, and lingers in the still night. Envy fades like a marketplace gone silent. Gratitude hums within you, low and steady, carrying you into dreams of peace. The lantern and the wind teaches us that gratitude shelters the flame of peace, while envy leaves it exposed to every gust. Imagine a winding path through the mountains at night. A group of monks walk in silence, each carrying a lantern. Their lights flicker gently, guiding their way over stones and roots. One young monk glances at his neighbor's lantern, which burns brighter, steadier. Envy stirs in his chest. Why does his light shine while mine flickers weakly? Just then, a strong wind sweeps through the valley. Many lanterns sputter out. Yet the young monk cups his hands around his own, shielding it with care. Though dim, it remains lit. In that moment, he realizes, it is not brightness that matters, but presence. His small flame is enough to guide him, and gratitude fills his heart. The Buddha often taught that mindfulness is guarding the flame of awareness. Envy exposes the flame to every gust, leaving us restless and unprotected. Gratitude cups its hands around the light, steadying it even when storms arise. There is a Zen story of two disciples arguing over whose lantern was more beautiful. Their master blew them both out and said, "What matters is not the lantern, but the flame." The disciples bowed, realizing that envy over vessels blinded them to the true treasure, the light itself. Gratitude teaches us to honor the flame we already carry. Think about your own life. How often does envy make you compare lanterns, houses, jobs, talents, while forgetting the inner flame of being? Gratitude returns us to that flame. Whether dim or bright, it is ours, and it is enough to guide us through the dark. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual when storms came. They sat in a circle, each shielding their lantern. When the wind blew strongest, they leaned toward one another, letting the light combine into a steady glow. In this way, gratitude became communal, protecting not just one flame, but many. What would happen if you treated envy not as proof of weakness, but as a reminder to cup your hands around your own light? Could you cherish it more carefully instead of comparing it to another's? A Zen master might ask, is the flame small because the lantern is dim, or strong because it endures the wind? The riddle reminds us that endurance, not brightness, reveals strength. Gratitude honors resilience over comparison. Reflect also on how envy feels like a blowing across the chest, scattering breath, weakening resolve. Gratitude feels like hands cupped gently around the heart, protecting, warming, steadying. The body calms when it shelters its own flame. Imagine yourself tonight on that mountain path. The wind howls, lanterns flicker. Envy rises as you see brighter lights. But then you cup your hands around your own flame. It steadies, glows, warms your palms. The path before you is enough. Gratitude fills your chest like light fills the dark. You walk peacefully, guided by your own lantern. There's another story of a hermit whose lantern was always dim. Villagers teased him, asking why he didn't buy oil for a brighter flame. He replied, "My lantern is humble, but it has never gone out. It has guided me through storms, through nights, through years. I am grateful for its endurance." Over time, villagers came to respect his steady light more than the brightest torches. Perhaps tonight, you too can honor your own flame. It may not burn as brightly as another's, but it is yours, resilient, steadfast, alive. Gratitude shelters it. Envy leaves it vulnerable. Outside your window, the world glows with countless lanterns. Stars burn fiercely. The moon glows softly. Fireflies flicker gently. None envies the other. Each shines as it is, together creating the night's beauty. The teaching of the lantern and the wind is this: envy weakens the flame, gratitude protects it. Brightness is not the measure of worth. Presence is. Even the smallest light can guide the way when cared for with gratitude. So as you prepare for rest, imagine holding a lantern close to your chest. The wind may blow, but your hands shelter the flame. It steadies, glows, warms you from within. Envy slips away into the dark, while gratitude glimmers softly, guiding you into sleep like a faithful light. The mountain path teaches us that envy makes the climb heavier, while gratitude lightens each step. Imagine a steep trail winding up a mountain, lined with pines and stones. Pilgrims walk in silence, carrying packs on their backs. Some packs are large, filled with food, blankets, and supplies. Others are small, holding only essentials. A young monk lags behind, glancing at a fellow ahead who carries a finer pack and stronger sandals. Envy weighs on him more than the pack itself. He mutters, "If only I had what he has, this climb would be easier." But the master walking beside him notices and says, "Do you not see? The mountain does not care what you carry. It welcomes each step the same." The monk looks up, sees the sky widening above, and realizes the climb is not measured by possessions, but by presence. Gratitude dawns, and his burden feels lighter. The Buddha often taught that life itself is a path. Some walk quickly, others slowly. Some carry heavy loads, others light. Envy focuses on others' pace and possessions, making our own journey seem unfair. Gratitude focuses on the step beneath us, the breath sustaining us, the view opening ahead. There is a Zen story of two travelers ascending a mountain. One envied the other's strong legs, complaining of his own weakness. At the summit, the strong traveler wept from exhaustion, while the weaker one smiled, saying, "Because each step was hard, I cherished it." The master, listening, said, "The one who envied suffered twice, once for his climb, once for his comparison." Gratitude spares us this muffle burden. Think about your own days. How often does envy make your climb feel steeper, comparing jobs, homes, or achievements? Yet the mountain of life welcomes each of us equally. Gratitude lets us see beauty in the climb itself, the crunch of gravel underfoot, the cool air in the lungs, the horizon widening with each step. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual called gratitude steps. On long pilgrimages, they paused every 100 steps to bow, thanking the mountain, the sky, and their bodies for carrying them. This habit turned even the hardest climbs into prayers. What would happen if you treated your own challenges this way? Could each difficulty become a bow, each step a thank you? A Zen master might ask, is the mountain conquered at the summit, or embraced in every step? The riddle reminds us that peace is not in arriving faster or carrying more, but in walking gratefully where we are. Reflect also on how envy makes the body feel. Shoulders hunch, breath shortens, legs drag. Gratitude, by contrast, eases tension, deepens breath, and brings rhythm to the walk. The climb feels lighter, not because the path changed, but because the heart did. Imagine yourself tonight climbing that mountain. Your pack feels heavy. Envy rises as you see others ahead. But then you pause, breathe, and notice the pine-scented air, the sweep of stars above, the solidity of stone beneath. Gratitude fills you, and suddenly your pack feels manageable, your pace steady. The mountain welcomes you, step by step. There's another story of a hermit who lived halfway up a mountain. Travelers often asked him which path was best. He would smile and answer, "Whichever one you are on. If you walk with gratitude, every path is good." Over time, pilgrims realized his wisdom was true. The mountain rewarded presence, not comparison. Perhaps tonight, you too can think of your own life as a mountain path. Others may climb with different packs or different pace, but your path is yours. Gratitude makes it sacred, one step at a time. Outside your window, the world climbs its own paths. The moon rises step by step into the night sky. Clouds drift over peaks. Rivers carve valleys slowly over centuries. None envies, none compares. Each follows its path with quiet patience. The teaching of the mountain path is this: envy doubles the weight, gratitude lightens the climb. Peace is not found at the summit alone, but in every grateful step along the way. So as you prepare for rest, imagine yourself pausing on a mountain trail. The air is crisp, the stars bright, the earth solid beneath your feet. You whisper thanks for the step you just took, and for the one that will follow. With envy left behind like a stone on the path, you continue lightly, drifting into dreams as if climbing into the sky itself. The potter's wheel teaches us that envy hardens the heart, while gratitude shapes it into something useful. Imagine a humble workshop on the edge of a village. The air smells of clay and smoke. A potter sits at his wheel, his hands steady, guiding wet clay as it spins. Around him, shelves hold bowls, cups, and jars, each shaped differently. Some tall, some wide, some plain, some decorated. A young apprentice looks at the finer pieces and feels envy rise. His own pots wobble, uneven, rough. "Why do mine look so poor beside theirs?" he asks. The master does not scold. Instead, he points to his own cracked cup and says, "This one carries water every day." It does not envy the decorated jar on the shelf. The apprentice blushes, realizing usefulness is greater than comparison. The Buddha often taught that the heart is like clay, soft when trained with care, hardened when left to envy. Every moment shapes us, like the potter's hand. Envy twists the form, leaving cracks. Gratitude centers the clay, steadying the vessel into peace. There is a Zen story of two students at a potter's wheel. One envied the other's perfect symmetry. He tried to copy, pressing too hard, and his clay collapsed. The master chuckled and said, "Do not press to be like another. Shape gently, with love for what is in your hands." The student softened his touch, and his own vessel emerged, imperfect, yet strong. Gratitude replaced envy, and his bowl became his teacher. Think about your own life. How often do you compare the shapes you have made, your work, your choices, your achievements, to someone else's? Envy makes your hands rough, twisting the clay. Gratitude reminds you that your vessel, however plain, holds your water. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual of shaping tiny clay figures, each one different. They placed them on the altar, bowing not to perfection, but to variety. Some were crooked, some smooth, yet all were honored. Over time, they learned to see beauty in differences rather than envy in comparisons. What would happen if you saw your own life this way? As clay being shaped, not compared. Could you honor your vessel as useful, regardless of symmetry? A Zen master might ask, is a cracked pot worthless if it still carries water? The riddle shows us that worth lies not in envy of another's form, but in the gratitude of service. Reflect also on how envy hardens the body, jaw clenched, chest stiff, breath shallow. Gratitude softens us like clay under water, pliable, steady, responsive. The body itself is a vessel, and gratitude keeps it centered on the wheel. Imagine yourself tonight in that potter's workshop. The wheel spins, clay cool beneath your fingers. At first, you press too hard, and the clay wobbles. Envy whispers, "Others shape better than you." But then you soften your touch, breathe, and simply feel the clay's rhythm. Slowly, a vessel emerges, unique, imperfect, but useful. Gratitude warms your chest, and you smile at what your hands have created. There's another story of a hermit who drank daily from a chipped cup. Villagers offered him new ones, but he refused. "This cup teaches me," he said. "It is not admired, but it serves faithfully." Each sip reminds me that gratitude is greater than envy. His cracked vessel became a symbol of humility and peace. Perhaps tonight, you too can see yourself as clay on the wheel. You may not look like another's vessel, but you carry your own water, your own purpose. Gratitude helps you honor your form, however it has been shaped. Outside your window, the world turns like a potter's wheel. The moon spins slowly around the earth. Seasons shape the land. Rivers carve valleys. None envies, none resists. They are simply formed by time and rhythm. The teaching of the potter's wheel is this: envy twists the clay, gratitude centers it. Each vessel has its place, whether for display or for daily use. Peace comes not from comparing forms, but from serving with what you hold. So as you prepare for rest, imagine yourself as clay shaped gently by steady hands. The wheel spins, but you remain centered, formed by gratitude. Envy falls away like rough scraps, while your vessel takes shape, simple, useful, enough. With this image, you drift into dreams, held gently on the wheel of peace. The sparrow and the peacock teaches that gratitude cherishes simplicity, while envy aches for grandeur. Imagine a quiet courtyard at dawn. A small sparrow hops along the stones, pecking at crumbs left from the monk's breakfast. Nearby, a peacock struts, its feathers glistening in the early light, fanning wide like a jeweled fan. The sparrow pauses, gazing at the brilliant display. For a moment, envy pierces its heart. How dull my feathers are beside his, it thinks. But then the sparrow notices the peacock cannot fly over the high temple wall. With a small flutter, the sparrow soars into the air, free to perch on the roof and watch the rising sun. Gratitude dawns as the sparrow realizes its own gift. The Buddha often taught that comparison blinds us to our unique strengths. Envy says, "I want their feathers," while forgetting I have wings of my own. Gratitude turns our gaze inward, reminding us that each being holds blessings tailored to its path. There is a Zen story of two students, one admired for his deep voice, the other for his quick memory. The one with the deep voice envied memory, and the one with memory envied the voice. Their master laughed and said, "If you both trade, who will sing? Who will remember? Each of you has a gift. Do not waste it in envy." The students bowed, realizing gratitude lets each shine in their own way. Think about your own life. How often do you envy another's feathers, their talents, looks, or fortunes, forgetting your own wings? Gratitude does not deny admiration, but it anchors you in your own gifts. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual of listing 3 unique qualities in themselves before bed. Not achievements, but simple traits like patience, kindness, or resilience. By focusing on their own wings, they softened envy and strengthened gratitude. What would happen if you did this tonight? Could you honor your own feathers, however plain they seem, and remember that you too can fly? A Zen master might ask, is the sparrow poor because it lacks jewels, or rich because it touches the sky? The riddle reveals that envy narrows wealth to appearance, while gratitude broadens it to freedom. Reflect also on how envy feels like a cage, tight, heavy, confining. Gratitude feels like wings spreading wide, chest open, breath deep. The body itself tells the truth. Comparison binds, appreciation frees. Imagine yourself tonight in that courtyard. You watch the peacock shimmer, envy stirring. But then you spread your own wings, small though they are, and lift into the air. The temple roof greets you. The horizon glows with dawn. Gratitude fills you as you realize beauty is not only in jewels, but in freedom, in flight, in being yourself. There's another story of a hermit who envied wealthy nobles in silk robes. One day, while walking in plain cloth, he slipped into the forest and startled a deer. The deer leapt gracefully over rocks and streams. The hermit whispered, "Would silk give me this freedom?" He laughed, bowing to his own bare robe. Gratitude made his simplicity precious. Perhaps tonight you too can bow to your own wings. They may not glitter, but they carry you. They may not dazzle, but they free you. Gratitude teaches that your gifts, however modest, are enough. Outside your window, the world is full of sparrows and peacocks alike. Stars shine like jewels, while the breeze moves invisibly, yet powerfully. Some sparkle, some soar, yet all belong. None envies. Together they create harmony. The teaching of the sparrow and the peacock is this: envy aches for another's glory. Gratitude cherishes one's own gift. Peace is not in dazzling feathers, but in remembering your wings. So as you prepare for rest, imagine spreading your wings. The night air lifts you gently. You do not need to envy jeweled feathers. Your gift is flight. Gratitude fills your chest like air in your lungs. You rise, soar, and drift into dreams, free as a sparrow under the stars. The stonecutter's lesson shows how envy never ends unless gratitude stops the cycle. Imagine a man working hard in a quarry, sweat dripping as he hammers at stone. Day after day, he toils, his back bent under the weight of labor. One afternoon, he sees a nobleman pass by in silks, shaded by servants. Envy burns in him. If only I were a nobleman, life would be easier. To his astonishment, his wish is granted. He becomes the nobleman, carried in luxury. But soon he sees the king, admired and feared by all, and envy rises again. If only I were king. Again, the wish is granted. Yet the king cannot command the sun, whose heat makes him sweat in his robes. If only I were the sun, he thinks. And so he blazes in the sky, powerful and proud. But then he notices clouds drifting by, blocking his rays. If only I were a cloud. He becomes one, shading the earth. Yet mountains pierce his mist, unmoved. If only I were the mountain. Now he is vast and immovable. But soon he feels a sharp pain, something chipping away at him. A stonecutter hammering at his side. Envy circles back, and he realizes he is once again what he envied least. The Buddha often taught that craving multiplies itself endlessly. Envy is like a wheel that never stops turning. Today, envying one, tomorrow another. Gratitude breaks the cycle, reminding us that enoughness is already present. There is a Zen story of a student who envied his master's calm. He tried to imitate it, even sitting in the same posture, but always grew restless. The master said, "If you chase calm, you will only chase forever. Sit with gratitude for your restlessness, and calm will find you." The student laughed, for the paradox was true. Gratitude was the gate. Think about your own life. How often does envy create endless loops, wanting one thing, then another, never resting? Gratitude is the pause button, the deep breath that says, "This is enough for now." Some monks practiced a quirky ritual of drawing circles in the sand. Each time envy arose, they traced a circle, then stepped outside of it, bowing as they left. This act reminded them that they could always step out of envy's loop. Gratitude was the step beyond the circle. What would happen if you stepped outside your own circle of comparison? Could you see that envy only loops back, while gratitude opens the path forward? A Zen master might ask, when the stonecutter envies the king, who is richer, the one with power or the one with peace? The riddle points to this truth. Power and possessions cannot end envy, but gratitude can. Reflect also on how envy feels like circling thoughts, restless, repetitive, never satisfied. Gratitude feels like stepping onto solid ground, firm and steady. The body tells the difference. Envy makes you pace. Gratitude makes you pause. Imagine yourself tonight as the stonecutter. You hammer at rock, sweat dripping, envy rising. You wish and wish again, shifting from nobleman to king, to sun, to cloud, to mountain. Each change leaves you unsatisfied. At last, you stop, place the hammer down, and breathe. You look at your own calloused hands, your steady breath, your life as it is. Gratitude rises like cool water in a dry throat. You smile, realizing this moment is enough. There's another story of a hermit who lived with very little. A visitor asked if he ever envied the wealthy. He replied, "Their lives are heavy, like golden chains. Mine is light as air. When I envy, I remind myself of this, and I laugh." Gratitude turned his poverty into freedom. Perhaps tonight, you too can laugh gently at envy's cycle. It promises satisfaction, but delivers only more craving. Gratitude is the only true wealth, for it ends the loop. Outside your window, the night sky holds its own lesson. Stars burn, clouds drift, mountains stand, rivers cut stone. None envies. Each fulfills its role. Together, they form the great wheel of life. Gratitude allows us to see harmony where envy sees lack. The teaching of the stonecutter's lesson is this: envy never ends by becoming more, only by being grateful now. The wheel turns endlessly unless we step off. Gratitude is the ground beneath our feet. So as you prepare for rest, imagine setting down your hammer. The wheel of envy slows and stops. You sit quietly, hands folded, breath steady. Gratitude fills your chest, soft and calm. No more wishing to be other than you are, only peace. With that stillness, you drift into dreams, free from envy's wheel. The mirror of gratitude teaches us that envy distorts our reflection, while gratitude lets us see clearly. Imagine a temple room where a tall mirror stands, polished daily by monks. By day, it reflects sunlight streaming through wooden shutters. By night, it catches the glow of lanterns. A young novice comes before it, gazing at his reflection. He frowns. His robe looks plain, his face tired, his posture crooked. Then he glances at his brother, monk beside him, whose robe is neat, whose face is serene. Envy twists his reflection, making him look smaller, duller, weaker. A master walks by and says gently, "The mirror is not lying, but your mind is." Gratitude cleans the glass. See again. The novice breathes deeply, softens his gaze, and suddenly notices the light on his shoulders, the calm in his eyes. He bows to his own reflection, grateful for the life within it. The Buddha often taught that perception shapes suffering. Envy clouds perception, turning even blessings into burdens. Gratitude clears the glass, showing beauty already present. There is a Zen story of a monk who complained that his reflection was ugly compared to others. His master handed him a bowl of clear water and said, "When stirred, the water distorts everything. Let it settle, and it reflects the sky." The monk watched the ripples fade and saw his own face, calm and whole. Gratitude is the stillness that reveals truth. Think about your own life. How often does envy distort the mirror, making you believe you are less when you are already enough? Gratitude helps you see without distortion. Some monks practiced a quirky ritual of bowing before mirrors, not to vanity, but to humility. They whispered, "Thank you," not for beauty or flaw, but for the life reflected. This softened envy and turned reflection into reverence. What would happen if you bowed to your own reflection tonight? Could you see beyond comparison into the quiet gift of simply being? A Zen master might ask, does the mirror envy the face, or does it simply reflect? The riddle shows us that life mirrors our mind, clouded with envy or clear with gratitude. Reflect also on how envy feels in the body, like fog in the chest, blurring vision, dimming breath. Gratitude feels like clear light, chest open, breath flowing, eyes softened. The difference is not in the mirror, but in the mind that looks. Imagine yourself tonight in that temple room. You stand before the mirror, envy twisting your view. But then you breathe, let your gaze soften, and gratitude polishes the glass. You see yourself, not perfect, not flawed, but present, alive. Light gleam in your eyes, and you bow to your reflection. Peace settles in your heart. There's another story of a hermit who kept a broken mirror shard. Travelers asked why he used it when it showed only fragments. He replied, "Even in pieces, it reflects enough to remind me I exist." That is enough for gratitude. His broken mirror taught wholeness. Perhaps tonight you too can see clearly in your own mirror, not comparing, not distorting, but simply grateful to be. Outside your window, the night itself is a mirror. Stars reflect on rivers. The moon glows on ponds. Even the dark reflects silence back to you. None envies. Each mirror shows truth. The teaching of the mirror of gratitude is this: envy distorts, gratitude reveals. When you look with soft eyes, the reflection is always enough. So as you prepare for rest, imagine holding a mirror polished by gratitude. You see yourself, whole and calm, free from distortion. Envy fades like smudges wiped clean. Gratitude shines, clear as moonlight on still water. With that reflection in your heart, you drift into dreams of peace. Now, as the journey of these 25 stories draws to a close, let your breath become slower, softer, like ripples fading on a quiet pond. Each story has been a lantern, a garden, a river, a bell, guides reminding you that envy is only a passing cloud, and gratitude is the open sky behind it. Feel how your chest rises gently, how your shoulders loosen, how the body settles into rest. Remember the sparrow that envied the peacock, yet found freedom in its own wings. Recall the stonecutter who wished to be all things, only to learn he was already enough. Think of the lantern cupped against the wind, its small flame steady, because gratitude sheltered it. These stories are not only ancient tales, they are whispers to your own heart, calling you back to sufficiency, to presence, to peace. As you breathe, imagine gratitude flowing through you like a river. Each inhale draws it in. Each exhale releases envy, comparison, longing. Your body feels lighter, your mind clearer. Like bamboo bending in the storm, you are resilient, flexible, calm. Outside, the world rests too. Stars shine without envy. Rivers flow without greed. Mountains stand without pride. The night teaches you what the masters always knew. You are already whole, already enough. Gratitude has been waiting inside you all along. So let go now. Release the day. Release comparisons. Release even the need to grasp. Feel peace wrapping around you like a soft blanket, steady and warm. With each breath, drift deeper into stillness, into gratitude, into sleep. As your eyes grow heavy, let this truth carry you. Peace is here, has always been here, and will remain with you as you dream.